So my question was, with the world moving towards greater globalization, is it possible to have a universal company culture? I came to this question by looking at the post-work society idea presented by Derek Thompson. He talked about the evolution of job necessity and how the American dream was really changing because the need for physical workers was also changing. I also looked at the American work ideals presented by Nixon in his Labor Day speech. He talked about how the middle class raised America from being a colonial society to being an industrial global powerhouse. Through looking at these sources and many others, I came to the conclusion that even though countries and companies can work together, it is their differences in varying cultures that make the world stronger and individual companies more cohesive. To understand this question and this issue, you have to know what company culture is. Company culture is a collection of the values, norms, beliefs, and company vision in a business, similar to school spirit in a high school or a shared belief among sports fans. Globally, there are trends that appear. In America, you have hard and dirty work in exchange for pride and for reaping rewards. This is shown as Toby Keith sings in a song that was a #1 hit Billboard. He says, spends a little more in the store for a tag in the back that says USA, and you won't find nothing that he can't fix with WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench, talking about his dad, of course. This really shows the down-home spirit, and that everybody was willing to do the work even if it wasn't particularly enjoyable because you knew you were bringing pride back, both to yourself and to your country. The industrial powerhouse across the Atlantic is Germany. They have a work hard, play hard theme, and this shows in their 35.6-hour work week, which is significantly lower according to The Guardian. They also produced 10% of the world's exports, with only 1% of the world's total workforce according to PBS NewsHour. They really spend the time at work using efficient work, and they try to do the most that they can in that time, but they also like to keep leisure and work separate. Japan is a country that didn't really come to strength until the last couple of centuries, but once they did, they had a theme of economically driven production. Maurer and Kawanishi at the University of Cambridge comment on this, saying that Asians, including Japanese, typically have higher levels of stress and depression because they are so committed to their work, and their quality of life has such a large disparity from the degree of work. India is a country different from these three because it is driven by religious motivation. India has a prevalent Hindu history, and as Supriya Sharma comments, their obligation and religious motivation in work is really what drives Indians to get up and go to work every day. They don't see work as something mainly they should be paid for, but something that they are fulfilling religiously and morally, and that is what drives them. It is important to look at the sources of satisfaction in the history. In America, purpose and enjoyable atmosphere is valued, as Nixon comments again in his speech. The middle class was really what rose America from being a colonial society to industrialization and then to being a global power. And he even tells the story of his own father, who worked multiple small jobs, even though they were hard and sometimes not very nice, because they knew what his family would reap in benefits. In Germany, the high production and dedication comes from Protestantism. Max Weber explains this when he talks about the qualities of diligence and punctuality that came with the religion, especially when it spread during the Reformation, and this transferred into the work qualities that Germans now have of extreme dedication and exuberance for their jobs. In India, this moral duty has been present in Hinduism, which has obviously been a cultural strong point in India since before it was ever unified under a subcontinent or one single government. In Japan, this historical efficiency was explained by Malcolm Gladwell in Outliers. He talks about the Japanese and Asians in the rice fields having to work smarter and not harder to get a greater crop yield, and this in turn transfers into the extreme dedication they have to their work to also stay on the head of innovation. Now, some people, especially with the rise of race and cultural diversity, discussion topics have different opinions. A lot of people will talk about Brexit or the presidential election or the refugee crisis and want equality and cultural inclusiveness. But you have to remember that equality does not equal homogeneity. If everybody is the same and everybody has an equal playing field like some feel like is best, you will have the weaknesses dragging everybody down. But if you do have that diversity and the company culture and the equality of strengths, you will really have a better margin of success. This is kind of shown in America, which does have that common culture, the common company culture of hard work. But this comes from America being a country of immigrants. everybody came in and had their own cultures and had to work together to bring those and to be a strong moving culture to, and the struggles that they all experienced came together and formed that hard work, that hard, dirty work feeling that we all have. Richard Barrett, who founded the Barrett Value Center, comments on this. He says, the alignment between personal values and company culture is important because when you have that alignment, it increases commitment, enthusiasm, and creativity. He uses an analogy of a car part to explain this, saying that if you have certain ideas about colleague interactions or choice and control in the workplace, or how important leisure time is to you, if you have to leave these ideas in the car park before you go into your job, you won't have the same commitment or motivation to do well in that job, and therefore it is important to have those different company cultures through businesses and through countries. Albert Camus writes in The Myth of Sisyphus about a man who was doomed to roll a rock up a hill over and over again, only for it to fall back down again. This is often compared to the drudgery of everyday work and life. He does write, one always finds one's burden again. However, he also writes, the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. Across the world, Americans, Germans, Indians, and Japanese have found their own motivations to work. They, like Sisyphus, are pushing a rock up a hill and have to find their own motivation and their own drive to get up every day and go to work to earn money for their families. With each man and woman across the globe earning money and going to work for themselves and finding their own motivation, it's impossible to imagine that that company culture could be the same.
Okay, Hannah, 2 questions for you. First one is, what information did you need that you were not able to find or locate? And then how did you go about trying to find that information?
So a lot of the information I needed to find and locate was really because the countries are so broad. And of course I had previous experience kind of with Germans and Americans, but I really needed that in-depth knowledge for Japanese culture because I'm obviously very foreign to that. And then also one of the big hindering blocks I had was when I was trying to find the biggest point of proof that having diverse cultures would really benefit. And I found a study by Van Horn, who is a sociologist and has experience in being an economist also. And he had a study where he was talking about the difference in percentages among citizens in a country and then between 2 countries. And one of those pieces of information was that in a country there was a 5.7% variation in nationality and pride, but when you're looking at 2 different countries, there could have been up to a 16.1% difference. And this was huge because it really did support the fact that in one country there are much more similarities and there are strengths that you can pull out rather than trying to morph every country into one.
And then my second question for you is, how did you use the conclusions and questions of others to advance your own research?
So I used conclusions and questions of others both in this class and with my research. My calendar obviously talks about topics such as equality or xenophobia, and a lot of people have heated ideas about this and they are passionate about that, especially classmates such as Gabby or Mia. They had their own ideas about what really would be important, and they really caused me to look back at what I was doing and really think about whether I should be saying that everybody should be the same or everybody should be different. And you can't obviously say that everybody should be one thing, and you also can't have everybody being in their own subgroup. And I also was talking to a representative from Thermo Fisher Scientific, and he was talking about the fact that they have branches in America and in India and in Germany, and they have different company cultures within them, even though they have one mission underneath that big company value.